5 years ago, I carved out my own slice of freedom, a sleek modern home perched on the edge of a so-called luxury community, just beyond the suffocating grasp of a homeowners association, so pompous it could make royalty blush. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and I made damn sure my property stayed free from their clutches. The deed, the plot map, the purchase agreement, all ironclad, proving my land was exempt from their petty rules. I built a minimalist haven with a backyard pool that became my sanctuary. Clean lines, clear water, just me, my dog, and a floating speaker pumping out tunes. No monthly dues, no nosy inspections, no threats over planting the wrong shrub. I worked remotely, sipped cold drinks by the water, and lived the dream. If you're loving this story of rebellion, smash that subscribe button on my YouTube channel, Midnight Tales, for more epic tales of standing up to the man. A few blocks away sat the HOA's crown jewel, their community pool. It was a summer circus, overcrowded, chaotic, with screaming kids and frazzled parents brawling over lounge chairs. I'd pass it on walks with my dog, never once stepping inside. Why would I? My pool was paradise. Their mess wasn't my problem. What I didn't know back then was that the land under their precious pool wasn't even theirs. It was leased from a developer, the same guy who sold me my lot. A quiet detail I'd ignored, until it became my weapon. The trouble started when the HOA elected a new president, a woman I'll call Miranda Hayes. She swept in like a dictator, her newsletters dripping with bolded regulations and veiled threats about aesthetic standards. She'd prowl the neighborhood, snapping photos of yards, nitpicking mailbox heights and fence colors. I didn't get her newsletters, but I snagged one from a stack by the community pool out of curiosity. It was laughably until it wasn't. One afternoon, I caught Miranda peering through my fence, her yappy dog yipping at her heels, taking pictures of my pool. "Can I help you?" I asked, keeping my tone civil. "Just looking," she snapped, then scurried off. I should have demanded she delete those photos, but I let it slide. That was my mistake, and it lit the fuse on a war I never saw coming. Want to hear how this showdown unfolds? Head over to Midnight Tales on YouTube and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next chapter. A week later, a letter arrived, printed on heavy paper with the HOA's crest, embossed like they were sending a royal decree. It wasn't a friendly note about a lost cat or a 4th of July barbecue. No, this was a condescending demand, accusing my unauthorized aquatic structure of violating community standards. They ordered me to drain and decommission my pool immediately, threatening daily fines, and get this fiction. They even included photos of my private backyard, snapped through my fence. I read it 3 times, half expecting it to be a prank, eviction, for a pool on my land. I wasn't in their HOA. My documents proved it. At first, I laughed, but the audacity sank in, and anger followed. These people had no jurisdiction over me, yet they acted like they owned my life. I figured it was a mistake. Maybe Miranda didn't know my property was outside their reach. So I called the HOA office, asking to speak to whoever sent the letter. They stonewalled me, saying I could only contest it at their monthly meeting. Fine. I marked my calendar, gathered every legal document I had, deed, plat, title company letter, developer exemption, and walked into their community center ready to set things straight. The room reeked of stale coffee, half filled with elderly folks clutching cups and others looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Miranda sat at the head table, blazer on, acting like she was running a Senate hearing. During public comments, I laid out my case calmly, presenting my paperwork. "My property isn't in your HOA," I said. "This is a mistake." Miranda barely glanced at my documents. "Your pool is visible from community homes," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "It disrupts our uniform aesthetic. You'll need to comply or face consequences." I pushed back. "I'm not draining my pool. I've broken no laws. Your rules don't apply to me. Her eyes narrowed. Don't force us to make an example of you. I left, warning that any fines or letters would mean legal action. They didn't care. It wasn't about rules. It was about control. If you're as fired up as I was, drop a like and join the fight against petty tyrants over on MidnightTales. I thought showing them the facts would end it. Instead, it was like poking a hornet's nest. Violation notices flooded my mailbox, each more aggressive than the last. One screamed final notice in red ink. Another claimed I owed $500 a day for Then came anonymous calls, deeply concerned. Voices telling me to ditch my pool or stop ruining the neighborhood before hanging up. Creepy. Absolutely. But Miranda crossed a line when she contacted my mortgage lender, spinning lies about code violations and potential liens. My lender called, confused, but a quick email with my documents cleared it up. The woman I spoke to was furious on my behalf, promising the HOA couldn't touch my property. Still, I realized being right wasn't enough. Miranda wouldn't stop. She was obsessed, and who knew how far she'd go. I didn't just want to win. I wanted her to regret ever targeting me. That's when I remembered the community pool. Years ago, I'd heard it was leased, not owned. A quick trip to the county office confirmed it. The land belonged to the developer, and the HOA's lease was expiring in a year. I called the developer, a semi-retired guy named Tom, and invited him to lunch. I laid out my situation, and Tom was sympathetic, tired of the HOA's antics after they lowballed him on past lease renewals. He gave me the lease's exact expiration date and entertained my idea of leasing the land myself. Then, I went bigger. Would you sell it outright? I asked. His eyes lit up. For the right offer, sure. That was the moment everything shifted. While Miranda sent her fake fines and snapped photos of my trash bins, I was negotiating to buy the ground beneath her precious pool. For more stories of sweet revenge, check out Midnight Tales on YouTube, subscribe, and let's keep the underdog winning. I kept my plan quiet, ignoring the HOA's letters and meetings. The more I stayed silent, the bolder Miranda got. Her notices piled up, her wording growing desperate threats of liens, legal action, you name it. I started folders. One for letters, one for emails, one for voicemails I recorded, even one for photos of Miranda lurking outside my fence, phone raised like a spy. I waved at her as she passed, grinning, knowing it drove her nuts. Meanwhile, my deal with Tom moved fast. He wanted the land off his hands, and my lawyer ensured the title transfer was ironclad. We set a closing date just weeks after the lease's expiration and prepared a lease termination notice to hit the HOA hard. I couldn't wait to see their faces. The lease expired on a quiet Tuesday. No fanfare, just a legal click, and the HOA's claim to the pool vanished. That morning, I closed on the property title transferred, deed recorded. By noon, the HOA got their termination notice, revoking all access to the pool. Hours later, my phone exploded with calls and emails from their legal committee, claiming I'd been scammed by a fake seller because they owned the land. Delusional, I ignored them, letting voicemails pile up for my amusement. To seal the deal, I hired a crew to rush a 6-foot privacy fence around the pool, complete with no trespassing signs and a keypad-locked gate. That evening, Miranda showed up, banging on the gate, demanding to see the property manager. I strolled out. That's me, I said. You're disrupting the harmony, she shrieked. This is HOA land, I smirked. It's not. You didn't renew the lease. I bought it. Check the county records. She threatened to sue. Go ahead, I said. My lawyer's ready. Want to see more epic clapbacks? Head to Midnight on YouTube and subscribe for the full scoop. The fallout was glorious. Word spread, and the next HOA meeting was chaos. Over 70 residents crammed into the community center, shouting, waving canceled pool bills, demanding answers. Miranda tried to blame me, claiming I'd exploited a loophole to steal their pool, but the truth was undeniable. They'd failed to renew the lease. Residents demanded refunds for pool fees that justified their sky-high dues. Some called for Miranda's head. The meeting collapsed, and within a month, she was gone, ousted after 3 board members resigned. Rumor has it, she fled to a neighborhood 20 miles away, unable to face the backlash. The HOA offered partial refunds, but the damage was done. Lawsuits loomed, and trust in the board evaporated. I didn't drain my new pool, I upgraded it. New tiles, longas, umbrellas, a retractable awning, killer lighting. My friends loved it. We threw a grand reopening party, floating with drinks as music blared. Some residents asked if they could pay to use it, but I declined, not out of spite, but because running a public pool meant insurance, liability, and headaches I didn't want. 6 months later, the HOA had the gall to send a letter asking to lease the land back, calling it mutually beneficial. I tore it up. I bought my home outside their reach for a reason. They could have left me alone, but they didn't. Now, their crown jewel was mine, fenced off, untouchable. I didn't break a single rule to make it happen. Still, I'm left with a question. My backyard pool, the one that started this war, sits unused. I don't need 2 pools. Draining it and turning the space into a garden could be one final jab at the HOA, giving them what they wanted after they've lost everything. But without Miranda here to see it, would it even sting? I feel for the residents who lost their pool. Many moved here for it, and they're caught in the crossfire of their HOA's incompetence. If they'd renewed the lease, I'd have had no leverage. But they didn't, and I did what I had to do. Was I wrong to burn it all down, knowing kids lost their summer swims and families lost a perk they paid for? Or was I right to fight fire with fire, taking down a bully who wouldn't stop? The HOA picked a fight they couldn't win, and I finished it. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments on Midnight Tales, and let's keep this rebellion alive. Subscribe now for more stories of sticking it to the system.